Can you see me and hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, great. So let's start our session for today. Sit comfortably. Keep the back and neck straight. Very gently close your eyes. Start observing your breath. Watch the natural flow of your breathing as you inhale and exhale. Slowly shift the attention to the body. Observe the alignment of your body. Quickly scan through your body and just make sure that you are comfortable and stable in your posture. Gently come back to the breath. Begin to step into the practice of Puraka and Rechaka. Slowly begin to incorporate the practice of retention of Kumbha. After you inhale, hold the breath in for about 2 seconds and then go into the process of exhalation. We'll open today's session by chanting Om one time, three times, followed by three Shantis. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together. Begin to rub your palms. Keep your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Namaste to everyone. Let us begin our session for today. So today we are going to, we had reached the cooling pranayama. So today we are going to step into the next two practices. So both of these practices are generally introduced together because one practice is just a variation of the other one. So these two practices are called Shitley and sheetkari pranayama. Shitley and sheetkari. So there are two separate pranayama practices, but because of some limitations in one, if you're not able to do that one, you can go ahead and practice the other one. Both of them have same benefits. Both of them are cooling pranayams. So if the body is heated, like after the heating practices, suppose you perform asanas and after that you want to end your session with something which is calm and relaxative, then these two practices are also very, very good. Okay. So in English, Shitley is called cooling breath. Sorry, cooling breath. Yeah. And Shitkari is called the ising breath. So the term Shitli, Sheetkari, they have the root word sheath. Sheath means cool. Like we say Sheetal, no? Sheetal is Thanda. Thanda hai kuch. So when you do this pranayam, you can actually feel the uh, cold like air passing and passing through your system and even in fact going into your system. So this is the only pranayam which is done, I told you in the beginning only all pranayams, you have to keep your mouth closed, but these are the only two pranayams where the inhalation takes place through the mouth and the exhalation takes place through the nose. So a key characteristic of this pranayama is both of them actually, sorry. So because of this nature of this pranayam, you also have to be very careful when you perform it, because when you take the inhalation through the mouth, nothing gets filtered from the air. right? So your nose has and body has this mechanism of cleansing the air when we breathe in through the nose, like the hair that is present in the nose, or just the fact that the temperature of the air, it goes up when you inhale, right? But when you inhale through the mouth, and because of the quality of this pranayama, that air will not get warm. Okay, so the dust particles or dirt particles of the air, it's very much possible that if you live in a polluted area, that will enter your system, which is again not good. So for this pranayam, both these pranayams, it's very important that the environment around you is clean, right? So you have to make sure that maybe you cannot control the pollution in the city, right? So you live in a city, by default you cannot control the pollution of that city, but what you can do to make a change in the room where you are practicing it, these pranayams, is that one thing, you regularly clean that room, right? So you have to maintain the cleanliness of the area where you are practicing. Then you can also go for some indoor plants. So plants in general are really good to have around, and especially in the house, right? So there are some plants which you can keep as it is, but some of them specifically clean the air wherever they are placed. Okay, so you can go ahead, do your research. You can look for plants which also purify the air around you, right? So you don't need an these days people are going ahead and they're buying air purifiers. You can actually keep plants which will do the same thing for you. So one of them is the rubber plant. Rubber plant, if you it's an endo plant only, and and it doesn't even require too much maintenance. That one you can get, place it in the area where you practice. So that will at least ensure that if you cannot change your environment, if you cannot control any other factors, some things you are taking care of when you're doing sheetali and sheetkari. Okay. So of course, 1 or 2 times practice, you will not be able to see that, okay, the dust is going in and it is impacting. But when you go for prolonged practices, if dirty air is going in the system, symptoms will begin to show up, right? So you have to be very, very careful, uh, even when you make somebody else practice this. So this, because it is a cooling pranayam, again, in winters, this should be avoided. In areas where the temperature is too low and it's cold by default, then at that point of time, at least try to avoid this pranayam. Today, we are just going to do it on an experimental basis just to see is it having the impact that it is promising. Okay. So no need to worry, 1 or 2 times of practice will not, give you too many side effects. But again, prolonged practices will show up on your body with various symptoms. So you have to be careful when you are going for or opting for the long-term practice. Now, by default, this goes without saying, when you do retention, the temperature of the body begins to rise. There is a lot of pressure that is placed on the lungs, right? So when you go for advanced practices of sheetli and sheetkari, you have to be very careful that the retention is not, it's just up to an acceptable limit, right? And in fact, try to keep it equal if you cannot increase the ratio. Because if you go ahead and do the retention in the cases of cooling pranayam for more than your capacity, in fact, retention should never be done more than capacity, but still, in these cases they will have the reverse effect, and immediately you will be able to feel that thing, because I am taking the breath in, I'm taking cool air in, and then when I do the retention more than I'm capable of, immediately the body temperature will rise. So you will nullify the effect, or in fact even cause the opposite effect, ठंडा गरम जैसे हो जाता है, right? So that causes a lot of illness when you immediately change the temperature. So be very careful. In this, the retention should be introduced at a very, very later stage when you know you have good control over your breathing, right? So in other practices, maybe people try to introduce the retention earlier, they try to experiment. But in the case of cooling pranayam, you have to again take a lot of care of this thing. So I'll just demonstrate both the practices to you. and then we will I'll tell you the other contraindications and benefits, right? So the first one is done by rolling the tongue out, so forming a tube of the tongue, and then inhaling through the mouth, through that tube that you have formed with your tongue, and then you close the mouth and exhale through the nose, right? So this is Shitley Pranayama. Okay, the first one that I have to do. I'll just demonstrate it. Okay, so this is Shitley, and then we have sheetkari. So sheetkari, what you do in sheetkari, you keep the teeth together and you just open up your mouth, okay? And then you allow the air to go into the system through the gaps between your teeth. So there are very little minute gaps within, like between the teeth. So when you take the breath in, you allow the air to go in through these gaps, right? And then you close the mouth and then you exhale through the nose, right? So again, it's like you are giving a very big smile. Okay, so right. So again, both of these pranayams, they are, so the best part about these pranayams is that whenever you are giving somebody instructions or whenever somebody is performing them, it's very funny, no? Right? To see someone, roll their tongue out, right? Like that. Or even in the sheetkari practice, the way in which you are taking in the air, it's quite funny, right? So these pranayams, they are very fun to perform. And in fact, when you are instructing, you will, you know, also, feel very light, and it will add a very fun element to this practice, right? And this is specifically, for kids, like when you have to introduce certain practices. So for kids, they really enjoy when we introduce these practices to them, because for them it's very fascinating and it's very fun, right? So they, keep the mood also very light. So by default of taking the breath in this way, it's very cooling and soothing. And when you look at the practice also, it lightens you up, it cools the mind down, right? So again, sheetkari, they have similar contraindications also. So about 1/3 of the population, they are not able to roll their tongue the way in which I did, right? So if you're not able to do the first one, the second practice is for you. And I'll give you some contraindications for sheetkari also. So if you have any of those problems, you can do sheetkari, right? But both of them will have same benefit, so you will not miss out on anything, right? So contraindications. Let's come to contraindications for both. So first thing, in case of low BP, these practices should not be done. It's very similar to Chandrabhedan only. Low BP, respiratory disorders like asthma, bronchitis, these things, cooling practices should not be done. In case of excessive mucus, again, you should avoid this practice. For people who have chronic constipation, again, this tends to cool down the entire system. So the process of digestion and elimination, that is somewhere impacted. So for them, this practice should not be introduced. And again, in case of heart patients, don't go for retention. And even in other cases, I told you, you have to be careful with the retention. For sheetkari specifically, because you are taking the air in through like the gaps between the teeth. So for people who have sensitivity of teeth, because immediately when you take the air in, you can feel the coolness, right? So if you have sensitivity in your teeth, which is very common these days, then sheetkari is not the practice for you. It will trigger a lot of pain and make it very uncomfortable to practice, right? If somebody has missing teeth also, again, it will impact the practice. Or any, denture related issues, that will cause little bit difficulty for them. right? So in that case, you can go for the practice of Shitley, and you can experiment with both. You can see which one you like better. You can do that one also. If you can't do one, when I give the instruction for the other, you can do the same practice again, whichever one you are following, right? Any doubts so far? Okay.
Ma'am, what about the neuralgia? So some patients do have neuralgia, so they are hyper sensitive to pain, even if there is like a little bit amount of stroke to the face or something that also gives them pain. So I think the pranayam practices that we are performing in general. So which are the practices that can be done by such patients or should be avoided by such patients?
Can you repeat the name of the disease again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It is neuralgia. Neuralgia. They are hypersensitive to any sort of touch, or sometimes just simple as an air stroke can also give them a high amount of pain on their entire face. So it is something called neuralgia. So what sort of practices can be given to such patients in perspective to this?
Let me read about this. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'm sorry, I don't know about this condition,
No
so I'll
problem.
get back to you tomorrow. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Neuralgia.
Yes.
Neuralgia. Okay, great.
Yeah, I can write it if you want.
Yes, please write that down in the chat
Sure,
box.
sure.
I'll just copy it and keep it somewhere, like, and I'll get back to you tomorrow on this. Okay, great. So I have the name. Let me get back to you tomorrow. I'll just note it down somewhere. Awesome. Okay. So let me elaborate a little bit on the benefits of these two pranayams. So they are, again, they have a cooling impact. So for relaxative purposes, again, all the tension from the body gets released and the nervous system, it gets soothed and it is calmed because of these practices immensely. And the best thing about Shitley and Sheetkari is you can see immediate impact. Immediately, if somebody is undergoing stress or any kind of, even physical uh, problem, like a physical problem in the sense which is caused due to a lot of tension being built up, right? So a person is able to, get a lot of relief out of these practices. And overall, it is again triggering the parasympathetic nervous system of the body. So all the things that are related to the parasympathetic nervous system, the kind of relaxation and calmness that gets induced heavily when you do these practices, right? Emotional people who get very, very, extreme emotions, right? If they are angry, they are very angry, right? And then they, blast, right? So for them, continuous practice of Shitli and Shitkari, it will help them to balance their emotions out. If in general also you go through a lot of, ups and downs in the mood, and you are like having this is actually extremes of emotions only, when you suddenly, there is a change, right? So all the emotional kind of stability, it gets induced because of these practices. But again, go for continuous practice. All the related disorders, when the pith gets overactive or dominant, then Shitli and Shitkari are great practices to, calm that thing down. So all your disorders which come under this category, like, acidity is caused by this thing. So all of, like, these types of issues, again, Shitli and Shitkari are great practices. And these practices, because they have such a cooling impact on the mind, they also, help you to concentrate better. So, before meditation, if you do these practices, Shitli, Shitkari, Brahmari, so tomorrow we will cover Brahmari also. they prepare the state of the mind for meditation. So meditation is not about when you sit in meditation or you are having these thoughts and you constantly fight. When you do from a meditation from a spiritual perspective, the mind is already stable and calm. That is why a lot of pranayama practices are done before meditation. Somebody will guide you into meditation, right? Because by default, the mind should be stable so that it can easily concentrate on the object and quickly turn into meditation where you are with the object without any effort, right? So that effort that you are putting in consistently, that will get highly reduced when you do pranayama practices first and then you sit for meditation, right? So any doubts? All the techniques are clear how you have to do both of them. Yes. So we'll practice for the remaining of the time. We'll just prepare our breathing first and then we will step into the practices. If you cannot do one, you can go ahead and do the other one 2 times. I will give instructions for both the practices. Okay, so sit comfortably, keep your back and neck straight. And when you feel ready, very gently close your eyes. Start watching your breath. Observe the natural flow of the breathing as you inhale and as you exhale. Take a few moments to adjust your body. Keep your posture both comfortable and stable. Gently come back to your breathing and begin to deepen your breath. We practice Purka and Rishikesh for a few upcoming breaths. We'll begin with our first practice. Keep your body aligned. We're going to go for the practice of abdominal breathing. Exhale fully. As you begin to inhale, expand your abdomen. As you exhale, contract your abdomen. Go with the natural flow of your breath and slowly begin to elongate the breathing as you practice abdominal breathing. After your next breath, completely suspend your practice. Come to the natural flow of your breathing and simply observe the impact of abdominal breathing. Again, the attention should be focused on the abdomen while you observe the changes and impacts. If you feel the need, you can change your posture before we step into our next practice. You go for a few rounds of your deep breathing. Exhale fully. As you begin to inhale, expand your abdomen. Feel the expansion in your chest. And as you finish your inhalation, feel the collarbones rise. As you exhale, first the collarbones will relax. Relax your chest. Squeeze your abdomen to expel out all the air from the body. Gain more control as you move deeper into your practice. After your next exhalation, suspend your practice, keeping the back and neck straight. Simply observe the impact of your practice. Simply observe the impact, and if you feel the need, you can change your posture. Before we start our next practice, the practice of Anulom Vilom, form the preferable mudra with your right hand. Bring your hand closer to your nose. Exhale fully. Close the right nostril. Begin to inhale through the left nostril. Exhale through the right nostril. Begin to inhale through the right nostril after you complete the exhalation. And then switch the side. Close the right nostril, open the left nostril, and exhale. Continue your practice. Go for 3 more rounds and then suspend your practice completely. Once you finish the 3 rounds, your back and neck straight. Watch the natural flow of your breath. Again, connect with the impacts and changes after the practice of Anulom Vilom. By now, the breath is prepared, it is controlled, and ready for the practice of the 2 pranayama, sheetali and sheetkari. So before we begin our practice, again, if you are feeling the need, you can choose to change your posture. Just make sure that you keep your back and neck straight. We'll start the practice of Shitley Pranayama. After you exhale, gently bring your tongue out, form a tube of the tongue and begin to inhale through that tubular form. After completing your inhalation, close your mouth and begin to exhale through the nose. Try to keep the inhalations and exhalations equal. And your focus should be on the cool sensation that you experience on your tongue as you inhale. If you find yourself unable to practice Shitley Pranayama, you can go ahead and perform sheetkari. Keep continuing your practice. After 2 more breaths, you can suspend the practice. Come to the natural flow of the breathing. And check the impact on your breath, on your body, and the state of your mind. Keeping your back and neck straight, we will enter the last practice for today, the practice of sheetkari pranayama. If you feel the need, change your posture, adjust your body. With a straight back and neck. After your next exhalation, gently open your mouth, keeping the teeth together. Draw the air into your body to the gaps between your teeth as you inhale. And once you inhale fully, you can close your mouth and exhale through the nose. You feel a cooling sensation on your teeth, and as the air goes in, stay connected with that cooling sensation and the hissing sound that is created while performing this pranayama. Again, if you are not comfortable with the practice of sheetkari, you can choose to perform another round of sheetali. For 2 more rounds and then suspend your practice completely. Keeping the back and neck straight, simply observe how you feel after the practice of Shitley Pranayama. Feel the sense of calmness and coolness generated by your practice. We will end today's session by chanting Om 1 time, followed by 3 shantis. First, take 1 deep breath, inhale deeply, exhale deeply. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Join your palms together, gently bow down. Just a sense of gratitude and respect towards all the things we have, all the people we have. Begin to rub your palms together. Your palms on your eyes. Allow your eyes to absorb this heat. We'll do this 2 more times. Rub the palms together. Put them on the eyes. Last time, rub the palms together. Put your palms on your eyes. Whenever you feel ready, very slowly while blinking and looking at the palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Are there any doubts, any difficulties that you guys faced?
No, ma'am.
No difficulty? Okay. Anything you want to like specifically talk about or anything that is causing you any
Ma'am,
kind
in
of...
this sheetali only, I want to cross check. You said that we have to roll our tongue and then we breathe in.
Yes.
So during when we are breathing out, that time our mouth is shut. So tongue we can relax, no?
Yes, yes, yes. So that tube
Okay.
form of the tongue, that's only so that the air is given a direction, right?
Okay.
So then when you take your tongue back in and close your mouth, you can relax your tongue. You don't have to keep it in the tube form.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your classes. Take care and bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.